It is just past midnight. You are sitting on the last train of the night, 70 feet beneath the streets of one of the world's oldest cities. The train lurches forward, and you are completely alone. Then, the screech of the wheels is broken by something else. Down in the maintenance tunnels of Farringdon Station, seasoned transit workers report a recurring sound that makes them drop their tools. The piercing, unmistakable scream of a teenage girl echoing off the tile. Over on the Bakerloo line, train drivers see a young woman in vintage clothing step into their carriages. When they check the rearview mirrors, the car is empty, but the doors begin to slam shut by themselves. This network ferries millions of commuters every day, but beneath the modern turnstiles lies a massive, sprawling excavation project that opened in 1863. It was dug directly through centuries of plague pits and forgotten burial grounds. To understand why these deep platforms scare the people who work on them, we must treat the transit map as a forensic record of the documented atrocities buried at its junctions. During the World War II Blitz, the deep, reinforced tunnels offered the only real protection against nighttime bombing raids. The government repurposed the network, turning transit hubs into massive, subterranean survival bunkers. The environment down here was incredibly tense. Thousands of civilians lived shoulder to shoulder, trying to sleep directly on the cold concrete platforms while the muffled thuds of explosives rattled the ceiling above them. On the evening of March 3, 1943, the air raid sirens began to wail. As the crowd surged down the unlit stairwell of Bethnal Green Station, a woman tripped. In total darkness, panic set in, and the crowd collapsed forward, pinning hundreds of people together on the steps. The crush was fatal. 173 people asphyxiated on those stairs, the vast majority of them women and children, trying to reach the platforms. That bottleneck embedded a layer of severe trauma directly into the station's architecture. To this day, staff at Bethnal Green report hearing the sounds of crying children and panicked voices echoing through the empty stairwells long after the doors are locked. The screaming at Farringdon Station traces back to 1758, to a 13-year-old girl named Ann Nailor. Ann was sold into a grueling apprenticeship with a hatmaker named Sarah Metyard. Ann suffered from severe infections that left her weak and slow, making her a target for daily abuse. Eventually, she tried to run away, but she was caught and dragged back to her employer. As punishment, Metyard tied a rope around the child's waist, fastened it to the back of an attic door, and left her suspended in the dark. Ann couldn't sit or lie down. Metyard left her hanging there without food or water for 3 days until she finally died. To hide what she had done, Metyard dismembered the girl's remains, packed them into a sack, and dropped the evidence into an open, muddy sewer trench near a place called Chick Lane. That specific stretch of open sewer was eventually paved over. Decades later, engineers dug right through that exact soil to build the modern commuter entrance for Farringdon Station. Old Bailey court documents validate the details of this murder, proving the audio anomalies reported by today's track workers perfectly match a heavily documented historical crime. If you move slightly north along the tracks, the nature of the hauntings changes. Here, you'll find the British Museum Station, a sealed-off ghost terminal hidden between active stops. The platforms here haven't seen a single civilian commuter since the station was officially closed and abandoned in 1933. Before it closed, 1920s commuters navigating the tunnels below frequently reported sudden chest pains and intense feelings of dread. The local rumor tied this panic to an artifact housed in the museum directly overhead, the burial lid of an Egyptian priestess named Amun-Ra. The legend surrounding the priestess grew so intense that her curse supposedly reached beyond London. Rumors circulated that an American buyer purchased the mummy and arranged for it to be shipped across the Atlantic. The vessel selected for the transport was the Titanic. Whether the mummy ever boarded the ship is heavily debated, but the story reveals how the underground acts as a sponge, absorbing the psychological weight of nearby artifacts and global disasters to constantly mutate the local geography of fear. The weight of Bethnal Green, Farringdon, and the British Museum forms a unified geography of subterranean trauma. Paving a multi-billion-dollar transit network over plague pits, disaster zones, and open sewers does not erase the violence of the soil. Next time you step onto a subway car late at night, take a second to look out at the dark walls rushing past the window. The screams and sightings reported in these tunnels are the documented, unresolved historical scars of the city, and they remain trapped down there with you.